Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session where we are going to talk today about accounting and technologies. Friends, as you're aware, our profession is actually going through an interesting transformation, and one of the key ecosystem which is actually leading it to this transformation is technology. Chapter 7, sorry, Chapter 17, which we are going to discuss today, is basically one chapter where we would be actually understanding the whole, I would say, the dynamics, the way the synergies is being working with technology and accounting. Also, somewhere you can say accounting enabled by technology, and somewhere technology enabled accounting. It's a kind of a mix of that thing which we'll be doing it up. So let's try to get into what are the learning objective or outcomes from this chapter for the first. Friends, here we would be actually having 5 key learning outcomes. The 5 key learning outcomes which we are going to talk about that is trying to understand some of the technologies which are going to have a significant impact on the accounting profession, such as we have artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, blockchain, cloud computing, and many more. The second part is something which is very interesting, where we are trying to understand what are the benefit of each of this technology and how they have changed the way accountant perform their task. Third, we would be also understanding the challenges that accounting professionals face in adopting these new technologies, because you are all going to be the future chartered accountants. It's very important for us that you understand all these technologies and appreciate the importance of this one, because of late we need to understand there has been a lot of changes happening around us in the industry, and that is something which becomes very important for them. And the last but not least, in response to our accounting standards and other things, how the different accounting processes can be automated, can be implemented in a different way with all these technologies which are there, and how we can have a great synergy between that. So friends, these are the learning outcomes. I am Anand Prakash Jangid. I am going to be your facilitator for this chapters. Let me walk you through a little bit of understanding on what we can expect out there. Now, we have the whole chapter which is divided into different sections. So I will actually try to put it across to you, the overview which is there, and then try to deep dive into each of them out there. We'll start with evolution of accounting. And evolution of accounting is a little important because a lot of time history has taught us how we have arrived here. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that there used to be a time when manual books of accounts were a standard approach. But now we don't see that anymore happening. And also there are regulatory requirement that all the books of account has to be maintained in an automated way or in a transaction processing system. And all that things is something which we need to understand. So our history will teach us a lot of things of how we're going to take that forward. The second part, we will talk about what are the state of tech today in the accounting profession. And here the focus would be on 3 main areas. The first one would be on the automation process, because automation is something which is becoming a key. I will be taking you through some of the external research which has been done in this domain, which talks about how all of these things are changing. Good morning, Ginny. So we would be actually focusing on one of the key things here in automation here. So when I say automation, we will be talking about the benefit. We'll also talk about challenges. And, somewhere we have to say, friends, that a lot of people have gained the benefits of this robotic process automation. It may be scary for a lot of people because a lot of work which used to be done manually has been now automated. But you need to also understand that. But no one likes the boring job of doing basic stuffs again and again in a repeatable time. So this is actually a kind of a amazing, I would say, change in the way we are working. The second part is what has enabled all this ecosystem is cloud computing, and that's something very important to understand. And here, friends, we need to see it from the perspective of how industries are changing. We'll be also talking about industrial revolution and how it changes the whole accounting domain and what are the changes which has come out here. The third one, we all know about ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, all of them are something which have enabled an integrated view over the organization. When there is an integrated view on the organization with so much of data, it also impacts the ICOFR, which is internal control over financial reporting, because now the landscape has changed. If you was to have a manual books of accounts and other things, that's already changed in terms of the way we look it up. Now, all these three areas are going to be more or less the current state. Now, one part which also becomes very important here is cybersecurity. Now, it's very much similar, like if you remember, when we used to have the books of account, we will have checks and balances that in a manual books of account, page number would be there. There would be carry forward, brought forward, totaling this, checks and balances. Now, don't you think if everything has moved onto an IT environment, we require to have a little more change or a little more understanding of all this domain in a better, productive manner? And that is where we need to understand the cybersecurity. How are the threats which are there? What can change it up? How it can impact accountants' work, and not only accountants' work, it may lead to restatement of financial statements and other things. We'll try to understand that. And also, what are the different measures which are required to basically deal with that? Then we have something, the new part of that. I won't say this is future anymore. Yes, when we were actually, having this material being written, that was a future, but is very much into a current state, which has come today, is the concept of blockchain and AI. I'm sure all of you have been using, large language models like ChatGPT, or you have been using now DeepSeek or any Claude, multiple models which are there in your day-to-day work. Now, that is more on large language model, but artificial intelligence has a great impact today in terms of the way we look at multiple things which are happening in the accounting world. We would be understanding that, as well as something very interesting on blockchain. See, friends, you need to understand one very interesting statement, which is being said that we, chartered accountant and future chartered accountant, which you guys are the custodian of the ledger. Now imagine our ledger itself has changed. It has become more exciting, more technologically advanced, and that is the distributed ledger technology in blockchain, which we will be understanding. Finally, we would also try to actually see the impact of all this information technology on our Indian accounting standard. You will see that many times reclassification, many times the way we are trying to do the provision entries and other things, how does it impact it up? And this would be a culmination of all of them together, and then we will take that forward. So this is very exciting, friends. Let's dive into this. If you have any questions, please put it into the portal. I would be actually taking it at every 20, 25, 30 minutes break. And I will also ask you any questions which is, you may have on that. I'll try to answer it up and take that forward. Okay. Great. So I think we are good to start. Okay. Okay. So I'll be also doing some marking on the annotation, which will be there. So, please bear with me. Now, the first part, friends, I would, always prefer an insert material, because it's actually, you guys will be also using that, and it makes our life much better in terms of how we are, reading this and how we can take that forward. And I would request you also to put your own marks and when you're, the key points which are there, we are discussing out here from the perspective of understanding and, taking this forward. Okay. Now, as I told you, the introduction part here, we are talking more from a perspective of what does this chapter delve into that. Now, the key things which I would like you to understand is we are trying to understand the various technology that has significant impact on the accounting profession. Now, friends, here I would like to take a pause and actually talk about something very interesting. Now, I'm sure a lot of you would have heard about something called as the Industrial Revolution. If you have not understood or heard about that, Google this up. There is like four industrial revolution which are there. The first industrial revolution started something around 1784. That was powered by what we call it as, if you have heard one term, steam powered engines. You Google it up, you'll understand that. It's a very interesting thing that steam power changed the way the industry was working. That was in 1784. It totally changed the way things were being handled out there. Then we had the second industrial revolution. So all the second industrial revolution was powered by what we call it as the electric engines. Now, electric engines changed the way, I'm sure in 1934, there was a movie which you would have seen called Modern Times by Charlie Chaplin. You would have seen a video clip on YouTube or something where Charlie Chaplin will be going into the machine, coming out of the machine and all of the thing. And that movie came somewhere in 1934. That was the peak of the second industrial revolution. Whenever you use the word industrial revolution, friends, this term has been more coined by World Economic Forum. And they say if industry is growing at a very rapid pace, which is like 70 to 80% year on year growth, they say there is an industrial revolution happening. And please understand, as chartered accountant, we are totally dependent on the businesses and industry. If the industry changes, we change according to that. Now, here, there is something very interesting to understand is when the first industrial revolution happened in 1784, you can see the correlation with that. So let me ask you a very basic question. Can you guys tell me which was the first Bank of India? Anyone? Let me also log on to the, I'm already logged on. Let me look at the admin panel, but you can actually put your points out there. Any guesses which was the first? And I trust you are not going to basically, Google that part up. Okay. Now the first bank was actually, if you recall, you get a chance, you would understand that. The first Bank of India was Bank of Hindustan 1770. So you can see banking, which is allied services, everything get impacted when industrial revolution start. So the businesses actually get assigned to that. So first industrial revolution, 1770. Second industrial revolution, something around late 1800 and the early 1900. And the third industrial revolution is something which all of us has been part of. You would have seen all this computerization, automation, and all the thing. But as per World Economic Forum, if you go to their website, they said that we have entered the fourth industrial revolution. And that happened something around 2018-19. Now, this fourth industrial revolution, friends, is very interesting. As per them, this is leading to a cyber physical system getting created. Now, if you take example, when they say cyber physical system, if you ever get a chance, I would see that, how would you classify Tesla as a car? Is it a car or is it a computer? It's actually a kind of an integrated cyber physical system because if I would say jokingly, we always talk about that if Tesla comes in India, the biggest challenge is going to be what is the HSN code on which we are going to actually classify that. Because if you try to take it as a car, it's not a great car, but it has a lot of autonomous driving technology, which makes the car what it is. If you talk in financial terms, friends, Toyota is one of the biggest company in world in terms of automobile production. But you would be shocked to know one very interesting thing here, that market capitalization of Tesla is much more than the market capitalization of Toyota. So you can see the changes which is happening. Now, when the industry changes, this is also getting an impact on our accounting profession. And that is something which we need to understand and appreciate out here. Now, we would try to examine the challenges also which are coming into that. When I say challenges, one of the challenges is also that we don't, no one likes changes. And when people don't like change, there are going to be issues which will come it up. So we have to understand these challenges also. And something which, I would like to share with you is, if you get a chance, friends, actually, this is in the public domain. there is something called as World Economic Forum Future of Job Report. Now there is multiple reports which are there, but because all of you are going to be future chartered accountant very soon, friends, I would highly recommend you to actually have a look at this. This report has multiple versions, and this is all in the public domain. So any one of you can actually download it up and take it up there. Let me share my screen so that you can see that part. I'm just sharing the screen totally instead of that one part. So here is the Future of Job report, which is from World Economic Forum. Now, this is the report. They have also the latest report, which is there, but this is the most comprehensive one, which was there. The more others are more of addendum and additional report, which is there. Now, if you see this report, this report is totally, for all my friends, all of you students, you need to understand, it's totally around 163 pages. You can see it's had multiple, things which talks about how the future of jobs is going to be and all things. This is a October 2020 report. But I would like to show you only one part of the report, and I would take your time, like you can go into the report in detail whenever you. Can you see this screen, which I have actually put it out there? Top 20 jobs increasing and decreasing demand across industries. Okay. Okay, cool. So if you see the screen, can you see what are the areas which are increasing? Data scientist, AI, machine learning, digital marketing, process automation, business development, digital transformation, information security, software and application developer, and Internet of Things. Now, you may think that we don't do any of this work, but as CAs, there is a kind of a demand for, we call as the professionals who are, there is a very interesting term, friends, it's called purple people. Like if you have done any formal training on drawing, when I say formal training of drawing, it means you can draw something more than that, two hills, one sun, and other things. Then you would have known that there are three basic color, RGB, red, green, blue. Using these three colors, you can make anything. Now, there is a kind of a talk which is going on that why can't we have people who are purple people? Purple people are basically people with technology and business knowledge. The red color represent the business knowledge and the blue color represent the technology knowledge. If you mix these two color, red and blue, the things what you get, friends, is what we call it as something very interesting, the purple color. And that exactly is the thought process. But can you see it here, friends, the decreasing demand? Now, the decreasing demand is something very interesting here. You can see accountants and auditors is number 4. Now, when first time I saw this report, I was like, okay, this is very interesting. Why is this changing? You can see the third one is accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll clerks, right? Now, don't you think on a first impact, when you see this, it looks very depressing, right? It says that, oh my God, what's happening? Am I in the right profession? But you have to read the whole report out here. You would be able to appreciate one of the very interesting thing here is that it's something like this. If you read the whole report, you would not be that depressed. What you are looking at this, you may feel that. It says, if you see 1980s, 85, if you take a 747 jumbo jet, usually earlier there used to be more than 5 pilots in the cockpit. In the cockpit, if you have seen it, there used to be 5 pilots. Today, how many pilots do you see in the cockpit? Any guesses? 2, right? Yeah, perfect. Yes, Ginny. And Ginny, as you rightly said, this is exactly the point, which is something which we need to understand and appreciate out here. What work was done by 5 people could handle by 2, but there's more use of technology and other things which happens on that thing. But this these 2 pilots are more technological saving compared to the rest of the people who were there at that time. Now, if you try to see that, you will be very impressed. If you go to our institute website, you will see institute is trying to talk about data analysis. It is talking about AI. We have a courses on that. Big data, it is working on that. Yeah, digital marketing, not for sure, but process automation, yes. We have digital transformation, yes, information security. So if you can see in the top 10 item, we are working on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. And that is something which we see as the future, because there is need to be a people who can understand accounting standard also and see the application of that with use of automation, blockchain, and other kind of things. So that is the kind of a background I would like to share with you before we move forward, so that you are able to appreciate why is this chapter itself is there, because we need to understand the changes which is happening. You can see on the screen the challenges which are happening. We need to be able to understand, appreciate, and then take it forward. If we are not able to do that, then it would not meet what we are looking for, because the idea of institute is to prepare you guys as a future professionals who can actually embrace all this digital transformation, and you are able to remain competitive in the industries. This is something which is very important, and that's where our mother body, which is ICAI, is trying to push hard on that. Now, there is a section 2, which I will not take too much of time, because this is more about the evolution. But a lot of time, there was a time, guys, when I was also young like you, and I used to say history is something which we should ignore. But no, history repeats itself. You would have seen in first industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, third. It's a learning which goes. And everywhere, record keeping has been done from a very long time. So we need to understand where we all come from. You guys are going to be the torchbearer of the profession, so at least we should know it of that. And you can see it from the times of the Egyptian, Greek, Romans, and our itself in the Mauryan Empire. We used to have so much of detail about maintaining the books of accounts and other things. In fact, I'm not sure how many of you have got a chance to read the Arthashastra. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend you to go through it. In fact, it has 40 different types of frauds which can happen in accounting, which has been actually mentioned out there. Imagine that was something around 300 to 400 BC, before Christ, and we had a kind of a documented account of how different frauds can happen. So it's a very interesting thing. We have come a long way out there. And then we have, the modern accounting system, which we see, Luca Piccoli, is more of the, the double entry system of bookkeeping. Yes, it's there for a very long time. But yes, there are also challenges. And you can see this even in this, your material, we have mentioned about industrial revolution. And this is something which is very interesting, guys. We couldn't go too deep into that one. So basically, we just, gave a kind of a passing reference to that, but have an understanding of that. And instead of Chartered Accountant of Scotland, which is the oldest and the first professional chartered accountant body, it was, started from a royal charter. And this is a question which I love to ask all my friends, that why are we called chartered accountant? And many thoughts were given and all things. The reason we are called is a chartered accountant. There is the power we are getting. The delegation of authority from the government is done in the form of a charter. And that is one of the reasons which we have it up. So you have a lot of sister bodies across the world, and we have been working it out there. But all this technological advancement, what you're seeing it around us, has changed the way our profession is working. And in this whole world, like I'm sure all of you have here, you have done your articleship, you have done your industrial training. Many times, tell me one thing. We love to do 1 time or 2 time or 3 times, let's say bank reconciliation statement. But tell me one thing, is it like someone get excited that, oh, let's do bank reconciliation statement today? After a point of time, it's a repetitive task. Yes, we should know the concept, but doing it again and again itself become that. Now, if you can actually use technology to be able to take care of that, any kind of reconciliation, don't you think it makes our life much easier? We should know the concept, yes, that's for sure. But fundamentally, it also helps us in terms of dealing with this in a better way. So this is about the past, friends, where how it has been, what was the history, and how we have come up to here now. Let's dive into the current state now. Okay, and then we'll go to the future state. So this is how the whole chapter is divided. Kal, aaj, or kal. So what is the past? What is the present? What we see in the future? But yeah, there are a lot of things in the future which has already come into the plate. But yes, that's how we are going to see the arrangement of the things. The first part is very visible in terms of accounting process, and I'm sure all of you have actually seen this happening, is automation, automation, and automation. A lot of automation. Now, you need to understand the difference between RPA and this automation, friends. I'll explain it to you. This is called the basic automation. So we used to have manual books of account, and then we said, okay, can we do kind of automated books of account? They said, great, we can actually put it everything on the computers. It's much easier to retrieve. We can actually work on that. Then they said, okay, we have all this business processes also. Can we automate that? They said, okay, let's try it. And there, this automation started. Now, when I say automation, it can be any manual process. Now, you can imagine there was a time when billing used to be done manually, right? Even in small kirana shop and all things, they will give you a hand bill or they make a bill out of that. But with the advent of that, if you actually walk into any of these large malls, you would have seen that it's tough because the kind of billing the person has to do is multiple things. There are people, and you can't have thousands of people to just do your billing. So they use a lot of technology, and I sometimes appreciate it also. Next time you try to go to any of this large store, try to see the speed at which they scan anything. They, have a kind of thing, and that information is getting immediately displayed out there. There's not even a small amount of things. And it is not just the front end, there is also back end. The moment you buy any item in their inventory, it would be reduced. So they know that when they are supposed to refill or take that forward. So here is a very interesting chart which explains you the entire process in a fraction of a second, which happens that you try to go to the billing counter, you pick up item, and the counter just scans the barcode. The moment you scan it up, it is actually getting all the detail and the barcode, and you have now the QR code also. A lot of information is stored out there for the machine to read it up in a fast way. And the moment it happens, you can imagine why we took the example of grocery store also. There are different HSN code. There are different GST, rates for many of the items which you have been purchasing. All that calculation happens in a fraction of a second, and the bill is generated out there. And then the bill, once it is generated, you can also reconcile then and there. You would have noticed it up. If you are paying by credit card and or debit cards or anything as such, they will actually just say, okay, this bill and this is the corresponding payment. They can just make it done then and there. So there is a kind of auto reconciliation which is happening of the whole process, whether the customer has paid in cash, whether he has paid it by credit card, debit card, all of the things, end of the day, the cashier can actually handle it up. Now, the amount of work which is being handled, especially in the busy shops and all things, is mind-blowing. And also it mitigates any kind of calculation error. Imagine if this would have done by manually, where you have to say, oh, this is the HSN code for this is the HSN code for that. It would have been close to impossible to handle that. But that is what is happening on the front end. What is happening on the back end? Now, on the back end, and this is something which is very important for all of us to understand, is the moment you are trying to do this, the sale happens or you are scanning it up, the issue or scale of the sale, they are helping you maintain your inventory data. You have a real-time information of what inventory you have in. I'm sure many times you have seen some purchasing which you would have done on Amazon, Fresh or Big Basket and all things. You will notice that they have a clear inventory of what's happening, what are the key things which are changing, how it is trying to, work it out there. And all these things are basically helping us better in terms of how we are dealing with that. So that is the first part which happens. If you ask me, also it helps us in terms of having correctness of data, and I can do my reconciliations and other things at any point of time, that I can do a daily stock taking, that this was my in stock, this was my billing for today, so this much was the sales, and this should be my remaining. So I can actually do a thing. Now at the back end, this is very interesting because this is being worked. Second, which is from a taxation perspective, you are seeing all the touch point you should actually notice out here, friends, because it's very interesting. We take it as granted, but literally, if you ask me, there's a lot of things which is happening. This part is on the process side, but if you see this part, this is on the terms of collection of your GST. At the end, you can actually basically see that what was the items which were sold, what was the amount of tax which was collected. At the end of the day, if I have to actually put it all of the things, now we have e-invoicing and other things also. You can integrate that with the e-invoicing part also, depending on how, what is the kind of things you are doing. And everything actually just happens in a fraction of a second. And the most example, which is very interesting, is, as I was talking about, is the way it all integrates in the overall scheme of things. You can see the sales, I was talking about that calculations and all the things, how much was the cost, what was the amount, all your reconciliation, what the payment was done, how it was done, the reconciliation, all these things are happening then and there, which is there. So you are seeing it just by automating the whole process. I am making my work efficient, effective. I am trying to meet all the compliance need. I am having a better business management. And that is exactly what we need to understand. Yes, can it work without the automation? It would work, but it will be a chaos. And that is what we are there. So the benefits we are seeing out here is streamlining the proper data entries. We are getting a lot of data processing, which is done at a fast pace. Accuracy, this is the most important thing. See, I always says to err is human. Yes. So humans, if you are doing the same task again and again, again and again, there are bound to be some challenges which will come. There are bound to be some issues, errors which may have, creep in. So from that perspective, the accuracy and reliability of your financial data is improved. Also, faster decision making when we have to do the order for refill and all that kind of thing can be done. And the kind of work you are doing it, if you have to do it manually and with all the data entry and all thing, the kind of cost which is there is 110% sure that automation reduce the cost. And ultimately, compliance needs. You are all seeing it that if we have to make India $1 trillion economy, $4 trillion, then we need to be actually be able to deal with all the advancement and everything happen fast. So this ensures that the risk of non-compliances and any kind of penalties are as much as possible removed. Now, this is nothing new, it's a present state. You will see today, I'll just give you an example. The time when I was doing my articleship, whenever we used to go for bank audit, we used to have manual books of account. Today, you will never see a manual book of account anywhere. The reason is everything is now in a core banking system. This is an automation. Businesses has to do it. It is like becoming more or, I would not say good to have, but it is like mandatory that you have all these checks and balances in terms of dealing with that. Okay. So this is the first thing. But along with any kind of benefits, friends, we also have what we call the challenges. Now, what are the key challenges which we see from this perspective? The key challenges comes from a perspective of the way we deal with all this tech. Now, when I'm talking about with the way we deal with this, all these things, see, there is a kind of a statement we used to call, I used to work for Infosys, and at that time we used to have a term called picnic, PICNIC, problem in chair, not in computer. Many times, lack of education on how to use it or ongoing training can lead to not being able to keep up with the latest technologies. And that is something which is very important to understand. Second, if you don't protect all this data breaches, now we have a DPDP Act which has come into picture, which on data privacy, data protection. Now, this is something which makes, a kind of the organization exposed to a lot of risk in the outside world. So that's something which we need to understand. And yeah, there is one of the issues which we have seen. I don't know if you have noticed it, our friends, that there was a kind of a BPO, KPO industry and GCCs which are there. They used to hire a lot of junior people for low-end job like reconciliation and all things. Yes, there is going to be a lot of potential loss of jobs because these are the low-end jobs and these are not going to add any value. I'm always say this point, and you can actually, even if you're a CA student from a large group or a small place, wherever you are actually doing your articleship, or you are studying or you have noticed during your articleship also, one of the very interesting thing, friends, you would have noticed is gone are the days when we used to be, I would say, able to see that, okay, we can just do some kind of compliances, some kind of, filing, and that would survive for, the work and all the thing. Whatever areas of work, including income tax returns, filing, sales return, GST filings, all of the things, are you seeing this is getting automated to a great extent right now? In fact, income tax department has come with a pre-filled in, your returns. So in that case, I would say yes, there is a kind of advisory role which we can play. There are other issues. But if you're thinking that that is something which is going to be a value add, no, all these things are going to be automated and there are going to be potential impact on many of the things. But to summarize, automation is good. It is bringing efficiency, accuracy, and better decision making and helping you to deal with that better. Now, this is the first part of that thing. And here it is more of enterprise automation where you try to take any manual process which you are doing it and automate it. It is different from one more areas, which is robotic process automation. This part is little different. Okay. Now, in robotic process automation, though the term means, I would say, robotic process, it's actually more of an emerging technology which is trying to help us, making bots. And this term is very important. These are not actually real robots and bots which will do the thing. It's a computer program which works it up, a bot. It will automate all manual and repetitive tasks which you are doing it. Now, how does that happen? And that is something which is very interesting. Friends, there are bots like Automation Anywhere. You can actually go to a site called, I'm not sure if you have seen it, UiPath. There is Microsoft has something called Power Automate and all thing. You can create a bot of your own. Now, what does this bot do? Let me explain it to you. Think of you are doing a task repetitively. As students, you have learned about macros, isn't it? Now, what does happens in macro? I can record a macro. It will mimic the steps which I have taken, and it will perform it multiple times. If I'm doing the same thing again and again and again, it can do it. Now, bots has taken this to a little higher level. Now, imagine if I have to, extract some data, consolidate. I have to go to, let's say, site of GST, download some reports from there, then do a reconciliation and all that thing. I do it every time. Instead of that, if I have a bot, it can actually do it for me much better. And this is something which people are trying to work it out. I'll also show you some example of a bot. There are multiple bots you can create it up. So let me share it to you, a generic bot and a financial bot. We'll try to see both of them and take it up. Let me show you a generic one. So you can see my screen. Yeah. Now I am a very, okay, let's see. Okay. Hi. From where can we download the 20 question? Shobna, this is not very clear. This is not on ICF like your 20 prefer. Okay, I'm not very sure this question is relevant for me, but nevertheless, let me go to a kind of a thing. So let's say I connect to a lot of people on LinkedIn. Now, the reason is when I connect to a lot of people, I am always busy. I don't have time. So either I can go to LinkedIn and do it, but what I did is I just put up the process. I said, hey, all the people who I like, I'll put the link here and or the email addresses. It will go one by one, sending them a mail, something like this. And once they accept it, it will wait for 85 minutes. After 85 minutes, it will send a mail out here. Okay. So I look forward to connecting with you, blah, blah, blah. All these things is going to happen. Now, when you see all these things, it is actually a basic example of what we call as RPA. If you would like to see an example of this in terms of what we call it as, think of this in the concept of, let's say, we would like to see it more from perspective of, how in the accounting world it can be done. So today, there are a lot of RPA tools which can actually do the same thing for you in terms of, let's say, entry in Tally or entry in SAP or taking it forward. Now, there are multiple examples of that, but I would only try to show you one simple example, which is of a video I would like to show you. And this video is, just give me a second. This video is all about how you can, change the what we call it as, let's say, for example, if you're trying to do pass entries from a bank statement, okay, and you would like to see how that entry is coming, you can actually do that, okay? So from the bank entries, we can actually do this entries and all that thing. So there are multiple ways people are dealing with that. If you just search on the web itself, you will find a lot of them. Let me just give you one example here. I'm just sharing my screen. Just a minute. And this is a video, so it will take some time. I optimize it up for it. Just give me 1 second. And this is just to give you an idea about how it happens. So here you can see this. I'll just try to give an example of RPA, friends. Here we have this tool, this one which we are showing it. We know this is a tally which all of us have used, and this is a bank statement. I would like the RPA to do the entry for me. So once this bank statement is there in Excel format and all the thing, I have to just program it once the bot. This is a Zapier. Now this company is no more there, but it's an example which I'm showing you. So in the Zapier, this, the flow chart is there. You don't have to know programming. You just say step 1, step 2, step 3, you record the whole thing. Once you record it up, it actually will go. And you can see I will start the Zapier right now. This is Zapier. I'm just starting it. The bot is started. The moment I start, all the entries is done by the machine itself. I'm not doing the entry. It goes, it does the voucher. It put the suspense account because it was not known, the amount, and then which bank account. Here I have intentionally put an error. So the difference between AI and automation or RPA you need to understand is automation doesn't have intelligence. If you have done error in your recording, it will do the same error again and again. You can see every time I'm doing it, it is doing the same error again and again. Multiple entries, the amounts are different, and it is not being passed by me. It is being passed by the system. So it is actually just passing off all the entries and taking it forward. So friends, what I would like you to understand is this is a kind of a very basic example. It can do much better things and all things. But this is the most, simple example of what happens when you are talking about an RPA tool or how it basically take that forward. I hope I'm clear on this one. Great. So now we will try to take it to the next level, guys. Okay. Yeah. So next part, which we would like to understand is, okay, we understood how the RPA works and all things. That is great. But what is the key things which it tries to work it up? So this part is something which is very interesting. I would like to talk about 3 things. First, it improves accuracy because see, humans have fatigue. If I have to do this entry again and again, somewhere I would actually get fatigue. So my enhances efficiency. I can focus on things and I can focus on areas where I can have more strategic areas covered than doing the repeated task again and again, or also, it's a more of a cost saving, which I can actually handle it up and do it up there. So similarly, there are some examples also we have in RPA, like, if you have multiple companies which are there where I would like to do the consolidation statement as per Ind AS 110. Now, one option which I can do is instead of actually each will have their own, there are multiple subsidiaries which are there. They have their own financial data. So I can actually make a bot which will implement the automated process of getting all the financial data from the ERPs, depending on SAP, Oracle, whatever it is. And once the financial information is there, it will do some kind of currency conversion because it has to be done. It has to reconcile also. It has to also made it up that it is matching with the, chart of account, how it has been made. And any of the intercompany transaction which has happened, because these are all the subsidiaries of the same group, has to be eliminated also, because I don't want to have a double counting of that. We have seen a lot of misreporting happening by many companies on these things, and that has to be taken care of. And the bots can actually eliminate all these transactions and work on that. And once it has been done, it will consolidate it up, and we can actually also do the calculations of all non-controlling interest, equity, what are the comprehensive income, and all these things can be prepared and validated out there. Yes, there is one thing which we all need to understand, friends, which is very important here. That is the first time when you configured your bot, it will require a lot of understanding of the whole process, what are the things, how you would like to do it, and then take that forward. But once it is done, if you are doing it at a quarterly basis, annual basis, monthly basis for the group, depending on how you would like to do it, once the bot is in model, it will just keep on doing it again and again and again without any kind of issues. And that is the beauty of all this area. I hope I'm clear on this. Okay, so this is the first two part which we have covered. We covered the basic automation across enterprise processes. Second, we talk about RPA. Now, there's a question which always comes to mind of students, and they always ask is, what is the difference between RPA and automation? The difference is very simple. When I actually have a full-fledged manual process across my enterprise, which I actually do it, I try to automate that as a kind of a transaction processing system and all thing. That is what we call it as a basic automation. RPA is mostly, more individual or group or department focus, which is only meant for some set of people who would like to, whatever task they are doing it, they would like to make sure that the repetitive task part of that can be handled easily and that can be, put onto a bot. So that's why we call it robotic process automation. Just like a human, how he does that, it will take care of that part. Now comes a very interesting, technology. So friends, I used to work for Infosys, and then post that I came and start, working with a startup which was there. Now, when Infosys was there, it was actually using a CRM system. The implementation of a CRM system would cost crores together. It's a big money which you have to do it. Now, that much money a startup cannot do it, but cloud computing makes it possible today. Today, because there is cloud computing, what happens is we have an easy way out in terms of same thing at a fraction of cost. So we need to understand cloud computing very effectively because it has changed the way we are working today. Every CA firm and every CA professional in their day-to-day working, the way we work on that, it has all changed. So let's try to understand that. Now, first of all, why do we call it cloud computing? Now, this is a very interesting question. So I'll give you a very interesting answer. Now, friends, all of you have seen something called as, flowcharts. You have seen flowchart. Whenever anyone draws flowchart, there is a symbol which represent, I'm sorry, let me show you. This is the symbol. This is called cloud. Cloud is the symbol of what we call it as internet. Whatever is happening on internet in the flowchart, they will just make this a simple, design saying that, hey, this is happening on the cloud. It's a symbol of cloud. So anything which happens on the internet, through internet and all thing is cloud. The fundamentals here is very interesting. You can see, post to 2020, the COVID pandemic, which we all have impacted, this actually bring a very interesting thing. There was a time when CAs were always looking for, you have to be in office to be able to do the thing. But have you noticed that you don't require the client server architecture anymore? You can be anywhere and then still you will be able to access your data, your systems, your programs, everything, and you can deal with that. Now that looks very easy, very practical, but you need to understand the thought process behind that. Cloud computing came with a very interesting thought process long back that was computing as a, there is a term which we call it, our friends here, computing as a utility. What is a utility? A utility, when we are talking about, imagine services like electricity. It's a utility. You don't own the complete, the department which is doing the power generation. You only pay for what you use. You don't try to buy a generator for that because that would be a capex. You just pay for how much unit you are using. That is an OPEX model, operating expenditure, right? Now, similarly, in cloud computing, they said, if I buy a big hardware and big software, and if I'm not even using it, what is the use of having those kind of software there? So cloud computing makes this part easy. I just thought instead of me doing a lot of blah blah, why don't I show you a small educational video on what cloud computing does? If you understand this video, you will be able to appreciate, I would say, how cloud computing per se works and what are the things we need to understand in cloud computing. So just give me 1 second. Let me play this video for you because I don't want to like have a lot of death by PowerPoint. We should actually appreciate and understand this in the right perspective. And cloud computing would be a very, very important area in terms of how we are dealing with this and take that forward. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Here we go. Let me share the screen.
You have big ideas to streamline your business and drive sales through the roof. But to get there, your ideas need business apps.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think I didn't share the screen. Now let me share.
You have big ideas to streamline your business and drive sales through the roof. But to get there, your ideas need business apps. And business apps have always been too expensive, especially in times like these. Behind each one is a world of complexity. They need a data center with office space, power, cooling, bandwidth, networks, servers, and storage. A complicated software stack, and a team of experts to install, configure, and run them. You need development, testing, staging, production, and failover environments. And when there's a problem, good luck. You call technical support, and they don't know, so they blame someone else. Oh, and when new versions come out, you would upgrade, but that might bring the whole system down. Now, this is for one app. When you multiply these headaches across dozens or hundreds of apps, it's easy to see why the biggest companies with the best IT departments aren't getting the apps they need. Small businesses don't have a chance. Cloud computing is a better way to run your business. Instead of running your apps yourself, they run on a shared data center. You just plug in, like a utility. This makes it fast to get started and it costs less. It's like Gmail compared to Microsoft Exchange. With Gmail, do you need servers and storage? No. Do you need a technical team to keep it up and running? No. Do you have to do upgrades? No. When you use any app that runs in the cloud, you just log in, customize it, and start using it. That's the power of cloud computing. This model is so much better, it's changing the way we think about software. Not just for consumer apps, it's also being used for business apps. We call this enterprise cloud computing. Businesses are running all kinds of apps in the cloud these days, including custom-built apps. Why? Because you can be up and running in a few days, which is unheard of with traditional business software. They cost less because you don't need to pay for all the people, products, and facilities to run them. And it turns out they're more scalable, more secure, and are more reliable than the vast majority of apps out there. Here's why. They're based on an architecture called multi-tenancy. With a multi-tenant app, there isn't a copy of the app for each business that's using it. It's one app that everyone shares. But it's flexible enough for everyone to customize for their specific needs. It's like a giant office building where everyone shares the infrastructure and services, like security, yet each business can customize their own office space. This means apps are elastic. They can scale up to tens of thousands of users or down to only a few. Upgrades are taken care of for you, so your apps get security and performance enhancements and new features automatically. Now, the way you pay for cloud apps is also different. Forget about buying servers and software. When your apps run in the cloud, you don't buy anything at all. It's all rolled up into a predictable monthly subscription, so you only pay for what you use. Finally, cloud apps don't eat up your valuable IT resources, so your CFO will love it. And you can focus on projects that really impact the business, like deploying more apps. Cloud computing is a simple idea, but it can have a huge impact.
So, friends, you understood this part. I hope you really saw that part, which is the CFOs will be very happy. And I'm sure, all of you are going to be future CFOs and other thing. So this areas is good because if you would like to manage the whole show, you can actually have less cost and then also you can get the same bang for the bucks. Now that's the reason cloud computing is something which is very important for all of us to understand. See, friends, I would be very upfront with all of you. Cloud computing has been an ecosystem which has changed the way we look at things. Now, there are two, three things which I would like to talk about very quickly. In your common application, you are already coming across this concept like cloud storage. When you are using Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, do you think that your data is on separate server? No, it's going to be shared with multiple people. But you don't pay for the overall thing. You pay for whatever you use. If you are using more, you pay for that more. Or you are using less, you can do that for that. Similarly, we have three main classification, and this is something very important, guys. I would always remember also from examination perspective, because we all love this concept of three things. This is because call as, you can just remember that somewhere. This is the fundamental classification: software as a services, infrastructure as a services, platform as a services. So this is called the, I'm using the word again, the fundamental classification. All the services which are there are classified into these three main boxes. Either it will be a software as a services, or it would be infrastructure as a services, or it would be platform as services. Now it looks like, okay, what it is all these things. So imagine this situation here, friends. When I say software as a services, let's say, for example, have you seen Office 365 or Zoho? Zoho, you don't have to, like, you don't know where your data is. Your data is handled by them totally, right? But Tally, I have to have my own server. I have to do it. And I have to, even if I take it on the cloud, I would have my own license and all the thing. Now, this is what we call as a software as services. If I, earlier Office 365, there was a kind of a thing called Office 2020, 21. It used to cost me 18,000 rupees, but I have to buy everything. Everything, when I say, it will have Excel, PowerPoint, Word, everything. Maybe I'm a chartered accountant. I only use Excel. In that case, I'm still paying 21,000 only for Excel because I don't want it. But with Office 365, I'm sure, I'm just sharing my screen. I hope you have seen this one. I can choose what I want to do it. I will not be, I can actually see that in Office 365 license, there are different things. I can actually say that I would like to only have this part of my, deal. I can only have pay basic where I pay 145, or I can take this. Now this is called as software as a services. They are selling it up as a services. I can install it up. You can see this one, I can't even install it up. There's no desktop version, which is there. So different things, different packages, I can do it and actually start working on that. Now this is one part of that thing. Second part of that is, let's say, if you've heard about Azure. Azure is from Microsoft. Microsoft has a cloud service provider, which is called Azure. You also have AWS. I'm sure you would have heard about Amazon Web Services. So both are there. Okay. So let me say, let me not go here. Azure pricing calculator. Yes, I'll show you this one. This is better. This is AWS, Amazon. It also gives you the same services. Now, there are two more things which are there: infrastructure as a services, and there was platform as a services. This is something which I want you to understand. Now, let's say, for example, I would like to buy a server right now. You can go and check it up. A server level machine, it will cost me 3 to 4 lakhs right now if I just go to the. Now, can I get it immediately? No, it will take me time. But if I come to Azure, I can just get a virtual machine right now. You can see that I'm adding it to there. So this is called infrastructure as a service. I can say I would like to, presently I am in, let's say in India, where do I want to do that? I have three options: Central India, South India, West India. It doesn't matter. It can be, data can be anywhere. But let's say I want it in Central India. I want it a Linux machine. This is the configuration. This is how I want the server, blah, blah, blah. And it is telling me I want a 3 years plan because I think 3 years would be good. Yeah. And this is the 3-year plan. How much it is asking me to pay? You can see $28.11, which means I pay $28.11. I can get a server. The moment, if you give me your credit card numbers right now, I can actually just buy it for myself and use it. But the point which I'm trying to say is, it's just like plug and play, that on-demand services which is there. So cloud computing is on that level. And now when I'm trying to show you this whole thing on the pricing, you see this compute is infrastructure, networking infrastructure, storage, web, all these things are called as infrastructure as services. So when we are actually discussing up here, infrastructure as a services offer virtualized computing resources. It can be server, storage, networking infra, and there is a pay as you go basis. So I just showed you this example of Amaze and Azure. And these platforms can scale up IT infrastructure based on your demand. Like, that term was there, elasticity. You want to have 10 servers, in 5 minutes, you can have 10 servers. Suddenly you realize I don't require the 10 servers, you can do it. A lot of students don't remember, but when we were students and we were waiting for our examination results, many times institute website will be down because there are so many people who are trying to log on. But if you see today, it is always in a much better phase because we use a lot of cloud versus services, and then it would be elastic. Only for that period, they will have that extra servers so that there is no students is having any trouble in logging into the thing. Then also sometimes concurrently a lot of people do it. But there is also one more thing called platform as a services. This is important to understand, friends, because a lot of people get confused. See, I'm sure a lot of you would have climbed into a train. And when you climb into a train, there are two options. You have a platform. For a platform, you can easily get into the train. But imagine if the train is not standing at a platform and it is just, at a place where it is, just stuck and being there. Now, there is going to be a big challenge out there. So we need to understand that part in terms of climbing a train without a platform is going to be tough. So the same thing, these people have done it. No, thanks. They have put all these things ready-made. Like if I want to do analytics, there is already ready-made platform which is there. I can just go there and start working on that. If I want to do something on AI, it is all ready-made. The cloud has already done. They have given the developer tools. So it is like I don't have to only have infrastructure. They will have the complete environment ready. It makes my life easier. So this is the second part, which is there, friends. So infrastructure as a services, software as a services, platform as services. Plus, we have other cloud-based services like cloud storage, which I already talked about, and cloud-based communication, like you are using Meet, Zoom, and all things. Right now, we are having it. When the recording of the Zoom is actually being done, it is on the cloud. It is right now happening as we are discussing it up there. So this is also a kind of a cloud-based communication and thing. And there are also cloud-based, e-commerce platform, which we are seeing it up. And now that we have Google's BigQuery, Amazon Redshift, and Data Lake, I showed you the Microsoft Azure Data Lake. You can just see it here. So there are data lakes which can be there, data lake analytics and all thing. You can put it up, all the thing. These things actually help us in terms of doing big data analytics, which means like how many of you have a Netflix connection? If you have a Netflix connection, imagine these things. If your friends likes only English movies and you suddenly start watching some regional language movies, don't you think on his account there is recommendation engine is going to change? Now this is an example of big data analytics, very interesting, which is there, which is being done by Netflix to know your preferences and all things. So those things are very interesting areas which are being done for that. Now benefit, though it is already covered in the video, I'll just try to replay for you or re-understand it. This one, there are three things which are most important. First, accessibility. See, I can access my data or application from anywhere. This is actually mind-blowing because today, accountants who are working, let's say if you are in practice and you are trying to give the services to that, this can help you to work on anywhere. Right now, I am in a different part of the country, which I'm not my base location, but I'm able to do this session because I'm using collaborative tools like Zoom, where I can actually talk to you. So let's improve accessibility. Second, yes, it also help you more security because if you're trying to do in-house, you may try to do it, but maybe, somewhere you'll cut corners. But here it is being done by multiple people, multiple places and all things. So it gives you an enhanced security. Scalability is very fast. This is the most important thing. I still remember there was one NBFC which got 0 to 1 lakh, 10 lakh customer in 1 year time. So they had 0 customer and they got 10 lakh customer in 1 year time. For them, scalability was very important, and the cost is drastically in decrease, guys. I'm telling you, today we, as a startup, my organization also, we are able to have the best in class software because we are using cloud-based thing. If you try to get it on prem, then it is going to be a very tough work altogether. Also, it helps in better collaboration so that people can deal with that and improve reporting and analytics and take that forward. But not everything comes without some challenges. And the challenges here in case of cloud computing is mostly on 2 main areas. First, this is some of the bad guys. They can actually, your data is available, right? Earlier, it was in your premises, only in your premises is available. If it is on the cloud, it is 365 days, 24/7 accessible to anyone. And if there are weak security, you are using the password as password. I hope you're not using password as password. But if all this kind of, checks and balances are not there, it can lead to a big disruption for business. We have seen this happening where, people have, found that the hackers have taken over their sites, their applications and all things because the passwords were weak. And you can actually try to go through more detail on that one because there are a lot of hacking attacks which keeps happening on a regular basis. Second thing, which is very important, is we call it the net connectivity, guys. So today I am right now in a tier 3 cities, and I'm still like, if I just try to share my screen, let me just show it to you. I usually use a tool called Fast. Okay. There's something called as, I hope you have used it earlier, something called as fast.com. So it's telling me I have a 20, 34, 33 Mbps connectivity. That's good. But if you get it at, less than 10, then it's going to be a challenge. So those kind of things is something which we need to be careful about in terms of dealing with it. If you don't have a good connectivity, then it is not going to work for that. Now, how organizations are using it? There is a finance team of XYZ. They have, there are a lot of financial analysts, chartered accountant who are working on all of the things. They want to have collaboration. So they are using Teams, workspaces. They are using, you have in Google Workspace, a kind of sheet can be shared and everyone can work on that. So everyone can put the financial information out there in the, part which is there, makes life easier for them so that they can actually have the income statement, worked on regardless of their physical, location which is there. And they can update all the revenues, all the details and everything. And there is a better collaboration. They can even discuss it up if there is any kind of issues and then take that forward in terms of dealing with that. The next part, which is before we go for a small break, is enterprise resource planning. I know it's already 1 hour, 10 minutes, guys. You will be a little tired. Just survive for a few more minutes. We will finish because we have done the past. We will have to do it 2 days and then we'll go to the future. So you are with me, right? Ginny, I hope you're not very tired. Okay. In the meantime, we will just try to have a look at any questions which would have come by now. Okay. No, I don't see a question. No. This one question which I'm sorry, Sobna, but this is, I'm not able to understand this one. Where can we download the 20 question for FR? FR classes would be, I think, at FR only, Shobna, not from here. Okay, I hope that answers the questions. Okay, cool. Let me just go back. Yes. Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you very much. So now, coming to enterprise resource planning. Now, this is something very, very old world. This is like, I have been reading it when I was doing my CA. This term is very old, okay? But there has been a lot of changes which has happened in that. And that is the reason it is there for you guys at this point of time. And you need to understand that. Guys, organizations have realized one very interesting thing, that there is a term which I love. I'm sure you have seen one of our richest person in India has said, data is the new oil, right? And that's true. But the data in the new oil is in a crude form. As chartered accountant, I would like to see you guys as the people who are the refinery of this data. If you guys can refine this data, that is the key things. As future chartered accountant, I would like you to see this, that what can we do with this data? Enterprise resource planning is a type of software which organizations use to have an integrated view of the whole organization. And that's why if they use the word, though it's a software, we use the word enterprise resource planning. You can see it's a type of software that organization use to manage the day-to-day business activities, which starts from procurement, which is also called as P2P, procure to pay, order to cash. There are terms which are used to project management. What are the project going? Accounting, risk management, compliances, supply chain. They are also doing governance, risk, and compliances on that. There are segregation of duties, the audit part. All of the things are being done on one big flotilla of application. Now, why ERPs have become so critical and they are there is because they can able to connect to multitude of business processes, and there is a kind of data process. Like, see, if I'm doing a procurement, there's a procurement team which is handling it, but ultimately it's going to come in finance also, right? I have for payment and all things. So everything in the organization is connected. Can I just try to see that, one single point of view? Before ERP, there is to be what we call it as silos of, or not silos, I would use island of computing. HR is doing their own work, finance is doing their own work, marketing is doing something. No one is connected. They said, can we get a single source of authentication? Can you see this word here, which is very interesting? Single source of authentication or single source of truth. If I can have it, Ginny, you can actually put it up. I'm not sure. I don't have the permission to unmute anyone, but you can put your points in the question or anywhere there if you have anything. I'm not very sure. I will ask the admin because I'm not very sure if we can do that, but that's exactly the point. Nevertheless, let me start with that. So here in enterprise resource planning, guys, what we do is we try to actually make sense of all the data and have a single source of authentication. Okay. Now here, I would like to tell you something very interesting, which is there. Today, one of the biggest FMCG company of India, listen to that carefully, they have an SAP system and they do on a daily basis. They have something called as primary sales and secondary sales. Primary sales is what they do the sales to the dealers. Secondary sales is what are the sales which is done from the dealers to the consumer. So one of the biggest FMCG company of India, on a daily basis, listen to that carefully, they are doing around 1 million plus invoices at the primary level. So 1 million invoices. Then their collection, this is not procurement. I'm just talking about the sales invoices. Then there are secondary sales, which is done by the dealer. Then there's a correlation, all that kind of thing. Guys, the businesses are so complicated. It cannot manage without this kind of tools. And today we have more and more cloud-based ERP also, which has come into picture. But I would like to tell you, don't go by the word ERP just for that, because cloud-based also, SAP is also there, cloud-based, Oracle is also cloud-based, Microsoft Dynamics are there. So these are how they are basically working. And they are giving next generation technologies also like machine learning, AI, digital assistants, and all the things. So this is something which is very interesting, which we all need to understand and take that forward. Now, this is what ERP does. Now, the second part, which is very important, I want you to underline this part. ERP is designed around a single defined data source that typically has a common database. It's a very important thing to know. ERP can do all of the thing, but the database is same. Means all the business activity that will be all coming into the similar database. And this is a kind of a most important part. And the second thing which is there is the core construct are then to interconnect the business processes, which is across the department. It can be finance, human resource, engineering, marketing, operation. All of them are connected and we can use them. Now, here since every organization, as I told you, data is the new oil for every organization, it can help you to do this part very well, which is, guys, you can notice it here. It says it can collect, organize, analyze, and distribute the information. This is something which I want you to underline and keep in mind, because it's a very important statement out here. Objective type questions also, this lovely question which comes up, but this is what it does: collect, organize, analyze, and distribute this information, because all these things are the most important part of an ERP to do that. And as I told you, not just collection, but also the wide distribution and making sure that it helps in decision making is the key part of what we call it as ERP's main role. Now, the benefit of ERPs are something which are mind-blowing today. See, if you are having any organization which is there, they will be always have a lot of saving if we can move to ERP. That's why you'll see every small organization, when they aspire to become big, they will first try to go and say, hey, how we can actually go and implement an ERP tool. So they will go for SAP, Oracle, depending on whatever it is which is there, they will try to work on that. So that is something which we need to understand, appreciate, and take that forward. The second thing, which is very important here, is what we call it as, you can see it for yourself, but I would say also makes a lot of sense, is improve insight into real-time information which is generated. Now, what is this real-time information, guys? See, decision making, as I told you, there used to be a lot of word. I hope you have heard this, that audit is a post-mortem. Yes, it's something which is done after a point of time. But finance has a lot of responsibility to take fast decisions and all things. For them, real-time information is very important. So that's one of the things. The cost goes down because you have business processes which is already streamlined, and you can bring up automation out here in terms of reconciliation, in terms of single source of truth, all of the things which are here. You can also have, friends, what we call it as better sharing of data between different ones. So you can see the end-to-end. This process started with requisition. For this requisition, this was the contract which was there. This is how the purchase order was issued. This is how the payment was done. This is the whole life cycle which worked. And that gives you a very important understanding in terms of doing it up. And also there is a common user experience across the board. Everyone have the same application which they're using it up. And there is a, you can have from back office to front office, you can have a consistent infrastructure. You can have better, reduction of risk in terms of data integrity. Financial controls can be put into that. We'll be talking about ICFR, which is nothing but internal control over financial reporting. So you can put the checks and balances then and there also. And that is something which is very important also, that instead of doing it post facto, we all know prevention is always better than cure. And, from the auditing paper, you would have already learned, friends, that preventive controls, detective controls, and corrective controls. Preventive controls are always more advised. So you can actually put those kind of controls here for better financial integrity and data integrity, which is there. And there can be a less overview and management part which will come into picture out here. So this is all the benefit. Now, the last part which I would like to talk about here before we go to break is a term called how does the system works. Excuse me. So, friends, here we need to understand something very interesting. In a ERP setup, usually the way we take that forward is it use a defined data structure. So it's like all data has to come into that. The moment information is entered, there's a mapping which is done on the tables and everything. It takes care of that. All this real-time data is being fed into the system. You can actually see that. And it has multiple modules. There will be FICO modules. There will be, procurement modules. There will be sales module. There will be multiple things which can work. If you see this workflow, you will be able to appreciate it better in terms of what we can deal with that. Just give me a second here. 1 minute. I just try to bring it from here only. You can see these examples which are there, because there's an interesting thing of in ERP what you can deal with that. Okay, so let's say, for example, I'm just trying to bring it out here, a simple process of procure to pay. Procure to pay, is a process which looks something like, let me show it to you in image. So I'm just sharing you a simple procure to pay cycle. Instead of going through that example out here, I'm just trying to show you some example here. Procure to pay is like from the time I procure something till the time I pay, what are the processes which are used? I hope you can see the screen, guys. Yeah, okay. So in a procure to pay process, there is first step is requisition. There is a kind of a requisition which will come from the department, which will say that, okay, this is the item which we would like to purchase. If they have enough budgets and everything, I would actually say, okay, you have budgets. So now let's move to the next level where we'll give the approval from the department head. Once the approval is done, then we start with, we see if we have an existing vendor for this, or we would like to have a vendor selection, maybe a new vendors, or so we will have to try to do an RFP, try to put on all of that thing. So let's say this is the process of vendor selection. It can be either existing vendor or new vendors, and then I can take that forward. Once I have done this, I can go to the next part where I'll create the purchase order. Now, till here, this is all subjective part. Requisition, there is one workflow, there is one workflow here, and then the PO is corrected. But the moment a purchase order is done, don't you think you have a kind of a simple, a kind of one single source of truth which you have to actually try to compile with, understand, and take that forward? Now, post that, there is going to be the vendor will be sending that invoice, and I would be receiving that amount. So there will be a GRN. Once the GRN is done, there is going to be an invoice processing and approval, and then the payment will be done. Sounds very simple. Let's try to see this from a ICOFR. Can you think of where are the checks and balances I need to put into place? Any guesses? No. I would be like to put checks and balances at here first. That before the approval is done, have you checked the budgets? One check. Second, I will say that when I did the vendor selection, there would be some another check of whether I have followed the procurement guidelines. So this is point number 2, one control put here. Once the PO is done, okay, order is received. I can actually put some controls here also in receiving. But the most important control is going to be something called as three-way match. What is three-way match, guys? Let me tell you what is three-way match. A three-way match means, let's say I'll just type something here for you, and you tell me whether it makes sense. Let's say the purchase order was, I'm just giving a simple example, friends, 100 unit at INR 10. GR, good receipt has been done of 90 units. Invoice came for 100 unit at 9 rupees. Are you seeing the situation? Can you guys think of on what basis should I do the payment here? Any guess? So friends, here I should be doing the payment on lowest of both sides. What is the lowest here? 90 in case of the goods received. Price is 9. So I should be paying 8,100 only. So Ginny, here, yeah, on the invoice and received goods basis, very good. The price should be coming from invoice, and the quantity should be coming from that. This is called three-way matching, Ginny. And this concept is called, in the word, you can Google it out, three-way matching. It's actually a standard. You're perfectly right, Ginny, on this one. So it's actually You will be taking the first part, which you'll be taking is this 90 rupees, 90 units has received. And what is the lowest of this? 10 and 9. 9. So I'll put 8,100 out there. Now, I'm just giving an example. This is how organizations are working on. This is a very interesting area. And I would request you to see and appreciate that, because when we are talking about this ICOFR, it's our bread and butter. But when you are putting all these controls in this one, a lot of thought process which goes. So here you can see they have given some example. And this is very interesting examples also. So you need to, from a illustrative step, these are more of example that, from the ERP, you will be trying to see whether we have met all the compliances needs, all GST, income tax, labor laws, and all things. And LODR listing, areas related work has been done or not. Second, I would be seeing the documented process to ensure that it aligns to our reporting and regulatory guidelines. I can't do anything which is against the things. Also, there is a change management functionality. I want you to underline the word change management. Change management is business is dynamic or static. It is dynamic. It keeps changing. There are new things which are happening, new areas which are working it up. So in that kind of things, we would like to see whether all changes are properly logs and there is an audit trail which is there or not. So it should not happen someone changes. Let's say, for example, in vendor master data, if someone changes the vendor master bank account before the payment is done and something like this happened, don't you think you will not even know if this change management is not enabled, the logs are not enabled? It is more of a detective control, audit trails are there or not. All that things will become very, very important out here. Also, we need to see that whether the people who are having, if anyone is having the authority, only those person can do all changes. Not everyone can do the changes which can come out in terms of dealing with that. Then we have to see other areas like, there's something called as very interesting responsibility assignment metrics. We call it RAM. So we try to see that who was supposed to do what all tasks, whether the person has done it, not done it, who's responsible, accountable, whether it's been consulted on that. All these things would be something which is coming up here in terms of that. So friends, net, what we need to understand here is ERP enables us to basically deal with all this data in an easy manner. It also helps us to appreciate what are the things which are happening and take that forward. And this is something which we need to understand and appreciate and take that forward. So that is the present part of that. One of the key things on the present part is also on cybersecurity. Now, friends, when we are talking about cybersecurity, what comes to your mind when we talk about this one? There are two terms which are mentioned here in detail. Threats and the risks that explore the impact of cybersecurity. In accounting firm and the client may range from assessing the financial data of firm to client to the extent of modifying the financial statement without the knowledge of the management. This statement is a very, very powerful statement of understanding what is going to come and hit us on this. See, today, are you aware of that we had been made, CA firm especially has been asked that under PMLA, you have to report some of the things. We are supposed to have all the financial, personal data of clients are actually with the firms. Also, when you become a CFO, a lot of responsibilities and privacies and other things comes on that. So having a good understanding of cybersecurity from an accounting perspective, I'm not saying to become a cybersecurity professional, but understanding that risk and what are the things which can impact us is going to be very important. Friends, it can be very, very, dangerous situation. If imagine a scene, I'll give you a situation just to imagine it. Have you heard about something called, ransomware? Ransomware is a malware or a malicious software which comes into your system and it will encrypt the whole hard disk. If you want to understand this section, try to understand this section from that perspective, that if a malware comes and hit a CA firm, which actually encrypt all the hard disk on 29th of September and 30th September is the last date of filing, don't you think it will actually may impact the going concern of the CA firm also? So today we need to understand that there is a big issue in terms of going concern of organization. We have something called BCP, business continuity planning, and other things which you would have seen in the other subjects. But that topic is very important because it's always related to going concern. So you can't see that, oh, accounting is in isolation. No, it is getting impacted by everything which is happening around us in terms of the way we deal with that and any kind of non-compliances. Now we have, Information Technology Act 2000 amended as is 2008. We have DPDP Act. We have other acts. All these things are making sure that it is legally, and we all know ignorance of law is not an excuse. But guys, that is a very broad area. In this topic, we are only covering one part and one part only. I want you to underline this one. We are just trying to understand the good practices, because I will not use the best practices. It's mentioned out there because what is best for you may not be best for me. So it's a good practices which are there in cybersecurity risk. And it's important for us to understand and appreciate this one, all these risks which are there and how does it impact organization. I will quickly take you through this and explain you some of the example for that. But before I do that, you need to understand that cybersecurity incidents, their reporting, legal compliances, it is also coming from regulators. In fact, the banks are asked to report all of the thing, any kind of sensitive information which is being, stored and transmitted by CA firms has to be reported. So it is impacting every aspect of our day-to-day work. Now, here there are some attacks which are very, very interesting attack. The first one is called as phishing attack. Phishing, as the name suggests, is trying to get information from you. So I'm sure all of you have seen it on WhatsApp. Someone would have sent you some link that you click on this link and you will get 2 tickets of Jet Airways or something like that and all that kind of thing. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to ask you to, yeah, it's happened, Ginny, a lot of time. And it's very interesting because people fall for it. There are emails coming that you have won this lottery, and you may think that, oh, we all know about that. But there are people you are seeing on the news item every day. There was some person who was under digital arrest and all the thing. The starting point of all these things would have happened, you know what? The starting point of this would have happened as some kind of phishing attack where the person would have got information about you by sending you the link. That's why there are sayings that you should not click on link which you are not aware of. Emails, you should delete it if you are not aware of and take that forward. Second one is called malware attack. Malware is nothing but anything which can infect your computers or networks with malicious intentions. Malware are it can be virus, it can be a worm, it can be ransomware, anything. It has malicious intention. There are Trojan horse, everything can be there, which can be working done. One of the things which has come out now, very, in a big way, are ransomware. Be very careful of this, friends. Ransomware attacks are more like they would come to your system and they will encrypt the files. So what happens is you are always under a challenge that you are not very sure, how did it happen? What was the key things? And, you are locked out of the thing. And if you have a very, confidential data and all things, you are ready to pay money for, getting that data. So that is the ransomware attack which happens. Insider threats. Okay, this is very interesting. Okay, so jokingly, I always say that when I was doing my articleship, I left my articleship and then, we have a sharing of passwords and all things which used to happen. And maybe about 5-6 years after my articleship, one day I tried to use the same user ID password which I was using when I was an article, which was the common ID. And they have not changed the user ID password. That's a scary situation because I could get access to all things. I was a nice guy, so nothing bad happened. But if a bad guy would have been there, he would have been used this. So friends, all these things are something which we'll do. The next one is a little bigger, so we'll take it after the break. But I would request you guys to just take a 10 minutes break. Let's join back it's around 8:36. We'll go at 4:46 again. We'll just come back. Okay, take a break, guys. Welcome back. So let's try to start from where we left. I hope you had a nice cup of coffee or tea. Just having mine still. Okay, so there are some questions. Let me take one question which has come. So Prashant is asking a question that with advent of technology and question, just let me share it up. So he says, with the advent of technological development with necessary for us to learn programming language like Python, SQL, Ruby, Java, so that the future is so that we can pursue along with that. So yes and no, Prashant, yes, there are knowledge of programming is good. Like I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but our board of studies in advanced ITT, the new curriculum, we have Python, SQL, and also we have 9. It would be good if you get into that because that's something which is the future looks like, working it up towards that. And yes, it's very important that we are, you can go to the site of Institute also. I'm not sure if you are aware of that, but if you go to ICAI.org, there are committees. Our institute understand the importance of that. We have something called as Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. You can actually have a look at that. And this is actually having all the things which you saw there, like blockchain, this one, they have courses on that. And second one, we have AI committee or AI in ICI. So artificial intelligence, we'll be talking about that. You can see this is being actually being worked out here in terms of dealing with this. So all these things are happening, and that's something which we need to be able to appreciate. So have a look at that. It will give you a better understanding. I hope that answers your question, Prashant. Yeah. Right. Okay, cool. Let me go back to where we were discussing. We were discussing on this area. Okay, the phishing attacks. So we talk about phishing, malware, ransomware, insider threats. Okay, now we have the most important one, denial of service attack. What is denial of service attack, friends? This is something interesting because what we are trying to do here is you don't want the legitimate people to come in. It's something like imagine there is a house of yours and or you have a shop and your customers keeps coming to the shop. I send all decoy customer who will not come and not buy anything. So this is done by using a way of data packets, how data packets are misused, and then they can actually look into that. So that is something which is called denial of service attack. It's like I send so many wrong packets out there that your website is totally confused what to do and it just restarts. Supply chain, it's actually on third party. I try to compromise your third party softwares. Your main software is safe, but I try to compromise that and take that forward. Now, what are the proactive things which we can do it? I know it's all very basic, guys. All of you are very smart. You know those things. You are young. And as a next generation chart accountant, you are smarter than us. But there's something which I would highly recommend you all girls to do that. Have a strong password. Most of the people, all of you are right now listening to me, I can 70% of yours, I can guess your password. Your password is either your name or your loved one's name, your favorite god or your family member, your date of birth or their date of birth, or a mixture of this. This is the standard one which is being used across the thing. Now, the thing is that nothing wrong with that. We all love to remember our loved ones and all things, but it's important that we have a good understanding in terms of dealing with that. So that's one of the strong password. Encryption. If you have sensitive information, please encrypt it, keep it in that. Nowadays, all the laptops are coming with encryptions and all things, so that is good. Access control. Now, this is also part of segregation of duties and all things. Access has to be given to the resources on need to know, need to use basis, and it should be always the rule of minimum access has to be given. Then we have to have proper network security. That next part, number E, is my favorite. It's like people have to know what is right, what is wrong. Many times we don't know that thing. And that is exactly, there is awareness has to be brought up on cybersecurity, how to protect it up. If someone is asking you a question, there is also people use social engineering to get information from you. So employees should be aware of this one. Taking proper data backups if you want to be aware of this ransomware and keep yourself safe. And then there should be a proper incident response planning, which means if something goes wrong, there should be a way out that, okay, this is how we are going to handle it up. It's like preparing for the worst and be prepared out there in anything this, take that there. Now we finish the past and the present. Let's try to go to the future. Now, blockchain. So guys, what is your thought process on blockchain? Why should chartered accountant know blockchain? One of the thought process a lot of people have is blockchain is like, this is funny, but they think crypto is blockchain. That is not true. What do you think is blockchain? Anyone? Because we'll be spending only the two main topics. We'll be spending some more time effectively out here. And I would like you to please understand this concept, because a lot of students get very confused in terms of what blockchain is, why it is that way, all that thing. So I would like you to understand it better. Okay, so what is this blockchain, guys? Anyone? No? Okay, let me see on the chat if someone has put anything. No, nothing. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's try to give you a basic understanding, guys, here. Can you see the screen, guys? Okay, Ginny has said something. Yeah, Ginny. Okay. Okay, that's a good point. Yes, Ginny. I think I'm very happy as students. You guys are keeping updated on these things. Can you see my screen? Just let me know. Yeah, I think you can see my screen. Yeah. Have you seen this ledgers like this? Yes. Okay. Now, if you see this ledger, this is a manual ledger, right? I want to tell you something very important. See this page number, 52, 53. See this brought forward balance, and somewhere down you would have this carry forward balances also, right? Usually, when I used to do my articleship, I used to go for my audit. We used to check for clients all of this data. If you see, these are the checks and balances. What are the checks and balances? Page number. We'll see the page number is correct or not. We'll try to total that whole thing up. Many times, if there are some bad people, they will try to manipulate this data out there, right? So we used to be very careful with carry forward and brought forward. I hope you understood this part, right? Let me now, we are custodian of ledger. We should be proud of that. I am very proud as a chartered accountant. I always say, we are the custodian of ledger. But suddenly what has happened, friends, is our ledger has changed. Our ledger is no more the same ledger which was there. Okay. Now, as auditors, if I say that we are the managers of the ledgers, and our ledgers just got upgraded, automated, and exciting, don't you think that call for a change in the way we do work? Exactly the point which I want to tell you. See, I want to first and foremost tell you one more thing, that don't think blockchain as this is the biggest problem as crypto. Crypto is different. Crypto is Bitcoin. But it came from Bitcoin. So that's the reason a lot of people think blockchain is crypto. But as students, as the manager of the ledgers, all of you should be knowing that that is not true, guys. See, I just give you a quick timeline, because this I just made it up to explain it to you. Blockchain, Bitcoin, the first paper on that was published in October 2008 by someone called Satoshi Nakamoto. He published a paper saying that we need a cryptocurrency because the fiat currency, which is right now we have a currency issued by governments, are not backed by gold. So what is the kind of things out there? Anyway, we'll not go into that. The first transaction happened with May 2010 when first Bitcoin purchase was done. For 10,000 Bitcoin, they purchased a $25 pizza. Today, it would be worth more than, not even 10 million, more than that. Then till that it was all okay. Somewhere in 2014-15, people started getting very excited about the way in the cryptocurrency. If you're having a cryptocurrency, you have to have an accounting of that. So the way the accounting was designed was so interesting that people got excited with that. And then 2014, there was an Ethereum project of blockchain, only a blockchain, which came. And 2015, can you see the time difference? 2008, 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 8 years it took for people to understand the power of blockchain. Now, that is the reason which we need to appreciate it, that there's something which is very powerful. 2015, when the first time they did it, they said, oh my God, this is really powerful. If you go to Niti Aayog website of Government of India, as a CA student, all of you know, they had Bitcoins or cryptocurrency. That's why we have a VDA, right? Virtual digital assets. There is a kind of a taxation and all the thing which is there. But Government of India love blockchain. You go to Niti Aayog website, they are saying we should use blockchain here, we should use blockchain there. Everywhere they would like to use blockchain. So friends, what I want you to understand is and appreciate it is today, this is something which is a very, very powerful technology, which is going to change a lot of things, the way we look at that. And then you can say since 2008, World Economic Forum and everyone has been talking about that, yes, blockchain is the future, and they all have been working with that. So this was the kind of a timeline I just made it up to that. Two things which I want you to take it up from here, very important. First is blockchain is, that's the reason I'm actually not trying to tell you from the thing, because blockchain, if you read it from there, you will be having a good understanding, but I would like you to try to see an alternate view of this one and take that forward. Now, what happens is, this is what are the things which is happening out here. But then the question arises, so sir, it's okay, you are telling all these good things about that. What's so special about it? Okay. There's a very interesting statement which was made, and I'm sharing my screen, guys, to just share with you, by three of the very top brains in finance. They said the disruption the blockchain will do to the financial system, what internet did to media. Now, I hope you remember when you guys were growing up, you had DTH and all that kind of things, cable connection and all things. Today, you are all consuming media through internet because thanks to the cost of internet going down drastically. They are saying that's the kind of disruption which blockchain will bring to the financial system. And why they are saying that one? There is a reason for that. See, blockchain works on a very interesting concept, friends. It works on a concept of what we call it as a very interesting way to look at that. What is the, don't you think, what is the biggest problem for double entry system of bookkeeping? You know, Luca Piccoli has given that long, long ago. What do you think is the biggest problem out there? Any guesses? Biggest problem with double entry system of bookkeeping, which you think should not be there? Ginny or Sandeep or anyone would like to bring it out? Feel free. No? See, there's a real interesting problem with double entry system of bookkeeping. I'll give you my point of view. The biggest problem with double entry system of bookkeeping is there is no single source of truth. See, in the books of, when we are writing an examination, we'll write in the books of X, this is the entry. In the books of Y, this is the entry. Who's writing this, both the entries in examination? Same student is writing it up. But real life, is it the way it happens? No. There is going to be two different people passing the entries. And then it leads to another issue. The issue comes, yes, Ginny, it's the issue out there, plus complexity is there. But more problem is there is no single source of truth. Then I have to do reconciliation. Personally, if you ask me, I find reconciliation very boring. Okay, because that's something which, you know, you're wasting a lot of time. Why can't I have a single source of truth? But that is a design of thing. People started talking about something called, why can't we have triple entry system of book? Let's say Ginny and I am there. We have a transaction between us. Ginny pass an entry in her books of account. Ginny is, yes, right? You pass an entry in your books of account. Yeah. I pass an entry in my books of account. And both of us also pass an entry on a blockchain, a single source of truth, which no one can tamper with. If today I tamper my books of account, Chini can go to the blockchain and say, hey, you know what? On the blockchain, this is the data. That is the ultimate truth. There should not be any kind of confusion out here. I hope you are getting my point, guys. Single source of truth. And that is exactly what blockchain allows you to do that. And that's the reason the financial world worldwide is very excited. I'll give you an example here, one more. If you notice, interbank reconciliation is a big issue between the banks, the reconciliation which happened. RBI has now done a POC, a proof of concept, where they put it up. All banks, you pass your entry in your books of account, but any entry which involves the other bank of account, you have to pass on a Finacle-enabled blockchain, which is being done by Infosys right now. And they said, why don't you have it done on that? It is being tried by 23 banks right now. And once it is successful, they will be mandated for that. So one, regulator has a complete view on what's happening. Government has a complete view. Banks cannot just come back and say, oh, this is the kind of issue which is there. Reconciliation will be totally eliminated. And that is exactly what blockchain does. I just tried to make a small slide for you on how it does it. Very quickly, I will do it. It is something to just add on to what is there in the material. So friends, you should be actually referring to the material for the key impact, benefits and all things, but what it is. First, I told you why it is there, blockchain. Why there are people so excited about that. Why chartered accountants and finance professionals around the world are there. Because imagine a situation where you have a single source of truth across the thing. But what it is something a lot of people don't know. So let me try to show it to you. Ultimately, it's a distributed ledger. That is something, guys, you take it for granted. Let me just put you this one slide and then we are good to go. Just a moment. Here we go. It's a very oversimplified version of this one. So ignore, if you have any doubt, feel free to let me know. So it's a distributed ledger. Distributed ledger means everyone has a copy. I can actually, like if you are interested to know how much money is, today transferred between Bitcoin all across thing, I can get the ledger today. Right now, I can see the, the blockchain or the ledger of Bitcoins. How many money has transferred from this person to this person? This is available. It's a public ledger. But imagine a distributed ledger where everyone has a copy of that. So the first top term is distributed ledger. Remember this. Second, it can contain financial and non-financial data. Why? Because see, I am trying to have a single source of truth. People are using it for keeping track of all the tax details. Now, have you noticed one very interesting thing? Friends, if you have seen off late, in GST, when you are actually invoicing, e-invoicing is done, there is a hash value which comes. It's actually a kind of term called cryptography. I'll come to that also, but this is something using contain financial non-information. It uses cryptography and digital signature. We are all known. Every participant has a copy of that, and it is replicated across peer-to-peer network. Now, what is this peer-to-peer network? I'm sure all of you have used as a student sometime or other something called as torrents for downloading movies, songs, books, anything which is there. Now, when you use torrent, it is a peer-to-peer network. There is no server out there. It is like from your machine to my machine, it is connected and it just works on that. It is a peer-to-peer machine. We are all equal. There is no server. Income tax department, when I go, there is a server. Third, that is a single source of truth, that there's an immutability. Once the data is out here, no one can question that data out. Okay. And finally, there is a mechanism to change all of that thing. Now, this is a very oversimplified version of that. Now, you will ask me, Anand, okay, I still am confused. So just for our students, I would request you, whenever you have time, to go to a site where you can actually have a small demo of how blockchain works in a simple environment. Let me just take you through that very quickly. So there is a site which called Anders Blockchain Demo, Anders Brownworth. You can check it out. It explains the concept of blockchain and hash. Now, what is hash value? Hash value is nothing but, if you know digital signature, whenever we generate a e-invoice, have you noticed that it will give a hash value out there? A number will be there. There is some algorithm, a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab. This is an algorithm. Like that, there is mathematical formula. See, I'm putting it up. There is a hash value being generated. Can you see down? There is a hash value which has come. If I put even a space, my hash value will change. It is something like taking a photograph of a data. This concept comes from digital signature. All of you have seen digital signature. This is coming from there. Okay. Then how does blockchain as a database works? I would like to take you back to one slide I showed you in the beginning. Remember this slide I showed you? I said page number, brought forward, carry forward. Same ledger, same thought process we are using on a computer-based solution. Now, this is just not a real blockchain. This is a demo. Please don't take it, oh, this is how the blockchain is. It is just to explain the concept. In blockchain, I put some data. Did you see the hash value? It is like page number 1. There won't be previous brought forward. So it is like thing. But this is a carry forward hash. I did this. The hash is changing. But then I said mine. Mining is like something, if you have to understand very simply, it is nothing like ready for posting and posted. Okay. So it's posted. And this is the third one. So what I have done is when I keep on making this, imagine this is a database. Every page of the database, it will have a previous hash and carry forward hash. It will have the complete data in a kind of format where if someone tries to do any kind of changes, something like, if I have to give you a very crude example, friends, is something like I am building a building, okay? And when I'm building a building, I am putting all these blocks out here, right? And these blocks, if you try to tamper, the whole building will fall. So this is exactly what I am trying to do it here. You can see this hash has automatically become hash here. This hash has automatically become hash here. So I have a complete track of every block of this one. This is how blockchain works. And this is, if any, actually, the hash is so strong, it is impossible to crack it up. Even if you crack it, I will have a detective control. See, the moment I do any changes here, you see my hash has gone totally, corrupted. So I know that someone has tried to do it. So this is what we call it as a blockchain. And I'll just talk you to last thing is the blockchain of Bitcoin. Here is the blockchain. It's like a ledger of Bitcoin. So you can go to Explorer. Today, the Bitcoin prices are, oh my God, 85. Cool, that's a good number. You see, these are the blocks which has been created, 6th of Feb. So every transaction is like a page number. Block is like a page. This page is 1.46 MB, this is 1 MB. Let's open one of the page. These are the different, prices of cryptocurrency, but this is the blockchain. And that is the reason it works on a own way. So you can see this is the detail. This is the hash value. You can see hash. And each transaction which has happened from this account to this account, from this account to this account, it will maintain. It's a distributed ledger. It's a public ledger, so I can all see it. Every transaction which has happened in this one, I can actually see it, analyze it, and take that forward. So this is how a blockchain as a concept works. Now, we are not interested in crypto, but we are very interested in using it for accounting, for intercompany reconciliation, taking it forward, and then dealing with that. So what does blockchain does for us? It actually enhances a lot of transparency. You can see that. Data integrity, streamline our audit process. In fact, there is one paper by World Economic Forum which says that if blockchain is properly implemented across enterprises, auditors will not have to ask information from multiple sources. You can just have it on the blockchain. You can see all the transaction which has happened and all thing. And because it is using cryptographic algorithm, it is enhanced. No one can tamper with the data. It is not like the books of account which can be tampered easily. and reconciliation become much easier. We have easy cost reduction because you don't have to maintain multiple things. Again, spend time on reconciliations, and you have a proper audit trail. What better than audit trail for auditors? We love that, right? And that is something which comes, and real-time financial reporting, you don't have to worry about that. Yes, a lot of useless jobs of reconciliation and all thing will be eliminated. So yeah, you don't require that many of people, but overall it is going to help us in terms of that. I hope I'm clear on this one, guys, on blockchain. Any questions which you have? There are some examples of blockchain, but I'll not go into too much of detail of that because there are multiple ways you can deal. I've given you enough examples of that. Okay. Great. Now let's come to a very interesting area, AI. So I'm sure you're hearing a lot on AI, how humans are going to take it over. And I'm sure, yeah. And this is something which is very much changing the way we think, we work. And when we say AI and machine learning, this is something which is very, very confusing for a lot of people. So you guys would have been seeing some kind of prompt right now, ChatGPT, prompt engineering, and other things. Let me try to take you through a small video, just like I explained in the cloud. This was made by using a solution called, I'm not sure if you guys have used it, invideo.io. So I gave a prompt that I would like to explain to students what is artificial intelligence is. I want to make a small video. I'm not expert in video making, but I would like you to make a video for me, which is interesting, 3 to 4 minutes long. And this video should actually have, a pretty interesting check on terms of what AI is, how they can understand, so that instead of my boring, talk, they can listen to this interesting thought process of how AI works, what are the things and everything. Now, what is interesting about this video is this video complete making is done by the machine. It is mimicking a human expert. Like I'm a chartered accountant, I'm a financial expert, human expert. It is mimicking a videographer who's actually another expert, how he makes a video, how he does editing, how does he make a storyline, all of that things by just giving prompt. Now, don't you think this is the invideo.io is amazing idea? Like, there are multiple solutions which are there. I'm not sure if you have tried Sora, which is there on ChatGPT. It allows you to make videos of your own. But I tried this to just give you an idea that today, AI is a very different thing. AI is nothing but when machines can mimic human. I'm using the word mimic. Let me try to show you this small video, and then we'll take that forward. Oh, sorry.
Every day, a large portion of the population is at the mercy of a rising technology. Yet few actually understand what it is. Artificial intelligence. You know, HAL 9000 and Marvin the Paranoid Android. Thanks to books and movies, each generation has formed its own fantasy of a world ruled, or at least served, by robots. We've been conditioned to expect flying cars that steer clear of traffic and robotic maids whipping up our weekday dinner. But if the age of AI is here, why don't our lives look more like the Jetsons? Well, for starters, that's a cartoon. And really, if you've ever browsed Netflix movie suggestions or told Alexa to order a pizza, you're probably interacting with artificial intelligence more than you realize. And that's kind of the point. AI is designed so you don't realize there's a computer calling the shots. But that also makes understanding what AI is and what it's not a little complicated. In basic terms, AI is a broad area of computer science that makes machines seem like they have human intelligence. So it's not only programming a computer to drive a car by obeying traffic signals, but it's when that program also learns to exhibit signs of human-like road rage. As intimidating as it may seem, this technology isn't new. Actually, for the past half a century, it's been an idea ahead of its time. The term artificial intelligence was first coined back in 1956 by Dartmouth professor John McCarthy. He called together a group of computer scientists and mathematicians to see if machines could learn like a young child does, using trial and error to develop formal reasoning. The project proposal says they'll figure out how to make machines use language, form abstractions and concepts, solve kinds of problems now reserved for humans, and improve themselves. That was more than 60 years ago. Since then, AI has remained for the most part in university classrooms and super-secret labs, but that's changing. Like all exponential curves, it's hard to tell when a line that's slowly ticking upwards is going to skyrocket. But during the past few years, a couple of factors have led to AI becoming the next big thing. First, huge amounts of data are being created every minute. In fact, 90% of the world's data has been generated in the past 2 years. And now, thanks to advances in processing speeds, computers can actually make sense of all this information more quickly. Because of this, tech giants and venture capitalists have bought into AI and are infusing the market with cash and new applications. Very soon, AI will become a little less artificial and a lot more intelligent. Now the question is, should you brace yourself for yet another Terminator movie live on your city streets? Not exactly. In fact, stop thinking of robots. When it comes to AI, a robot is nothing more than the shell concealing what's actually used to power the technology. That means AI can manifest itself in many different ways. Let's break down the options. First, you have your bots. They're text-based and incredibly powerful, but they have limitations. Ask a weather bot for the forecast, and it will tell you it's partly cloudy with a high of 57. But ask that same bot what time it is in Tokyo, and it'll get a little confused. That's because the bot's creator only programmed it to give you the weather by pulling from a specific data source. Natural language processing makes these bots a bit more sophisticated. When you ask Siri or Cortana where the closest gas station is, it's really just translating your voice to text engine and reading the answer back in human syntax. So in other words, you don't have to speak in code. At the far end of the spectrum is machine learning, and honestly, it's one of the most exciting areas of AI. Like a human, a machine retains information and becomes smarter over time. But unlike a human, it's not susceptible to things like short-term memory loss, information overload, sleep deprivation, and distractions. But how do these machines actually learn? Well, while it may be easy for a human to know the difference between a cat and a dog, for a computer, not so much. You see, when you're only considering physical appearance, the difference between cats and dogs can be a little gray. You can say cats have pointed ears and dogs have floppy ears, but those rules aren't universal. Between tail length, fur texture, and color, there are a lot of options. And that means a lot of tedious rules someone would have to program manually to help a computer spot the difference. But remember, machine learning is about making machines learn like humans. And like any toddler, that means they have to learn by experience. With machine learning, programs analyze thousands of examples to build an algorithm. It then tweaks the algorithm based on if it achieves its goal. Over time, the program actually gets smarter. That's how machines like IBM's Watson can diagnose cancer, compose classical symphonies, or crush Ken Jennings at Jeopardy! Some programs even mimic the way the human brain is structured, complete with neural networks that help humans, and now machines, solve problems. Generations have long imagined the ramifications of AI, visualizing a society where machines seek revenge and wreak havoc on human society. Job. Will it make your work obsolete? Just like the Industrial Revolution, it's not human versus machine, it's human and machine versus problem. The point is that artificial intelligence helps you accomplish more in less time, taking on the repetitive tasks of your job while you master the strategy and relationships.
So you
That
understood
way,
this whole
humans
point,
can do what they
right? We are trying to explain that same point out here. See, you need to not take AI as some magic bullet. It's like simple concept. It's simulation of human intelligence, and it works on the same way. And it is transforming our accounting profession. So whenever we are looking at that, AI and machine learning, there are two different areas, and it also talks about robotic process automation when you are seeing it. We need to understand that these technologies are going to do without getting programming done. See, there is a new term in the market and which you should all know. It is called citizen developer. So someone's, asked me that question, like whether we should know that programming. You don't need to. You go out and do low code, no code. There are hundreds of solutions which are there, which will do that for you. Okay. So you can actually do these things with them. Low code. You can just tell it that you do this, it will write the code. ChatGPT writes code in Python and all the things, but you should understand it. That is what I'm trying to say. So without programming, the programming is done by the machine itself and it can take care of that. That is what AI is all about. I hope I'm clear. Let's go to the next part of this. Just give me 1 second. Got on. So what happens is when we are trying to talk about this one, we have to understand this whole thing has a huge impact on our profession. How? We can actually have algorithms and machine learning models which can process data or extract data from invoices, because it is using, have you seen something like Google Lens? It is actually a kind of translates a document also, but it is called computer vision. It can read it up, it can see that thing. So it can pass entries, it can do all of the things. So that can help you to deal with that in a much better way. Second, fraud detection. When you are using a lot of data, you would like to see any kind of frauds which is happening, patterns in banking. We have something called as money laundering and all the things, that kind of patterns. It can back it up much better. Very important. See, in financial forecasting, India is 115, which requires the degree of estimation likelihood of availing such discount in, record revenue. When you're trying to sell something, what are the vouchers which are given? How we are trying to, likelihood of that kind of things to happen. The provision has to be taken care of. In this areas, we require to basically deal with that. If you have seen in the insurance companies also, we have a concept that they will be making a provision every year of how much sales was done. There it can actually help you in terms of making it more realistic understanding in terms of dealing with that. And accounting automation goes without thing, and better analysis of all this AI tool. I would actually suggest you that our institute has come out with something called as CAGPT, and for students you can try it out. In fact, you can see all the papers which has been published in the past. What are the you can also predict what kind of question can come, all of that things, frame a question from these chapters. It's a very interesting thing. I would suggest you, I'm sure most of the students are using the CAGPT. If you are not, please do use it. It's only meant for members and students. So as a students, if you have your ERO number, SRO number, or WRO and NRO numbers, you can actually please go and take care of that. But with all the benefit also, friends, it comes with a lot of challenges. What are the issues? First is data privacy. If whatever you're dealing with that, you're not sure how the machine will basically use that data, what are they doing it up. So the data privacy is the first key thing. Second, security concern. I hope it was talking about the video talks about Terminator movie. Yeah, we have all seen that kind of thing, that many times, the AI, the way it would look like this, that some of the confidential data may be exposed, or there can be other issues which may happen. And that is something which we need to look into. Technically, it is very complex. So that is something which we need to do it. And people have to be trained, because that's one of the reasons why our institute has brought all these things out here. Because you guys are going to be the future chart accountant. You should be aware of all these things and know that how we can actually take them. So this is all the challenges which are there. But this emerging technologies which are there, all of them are going to have a revolutionary impact on our profession. When I say this word, if institute is using a word called revolutionary impact, you can understand that how serious our institute is trying to look into that. And it's a high time, guys, that when we are trying to talk about all of the things, you guys need to explore these things up. As chartered accountant and future chartered accountant, we have a role to play out here, because there's a very interesting statement I heard from a very senior chartered accountant. They said There was a time when we were the first line of information, which means we used to provide information to the government. Basically, we will be doing the assurance attestation function, and then the government trusts it up. Somehow we are becoming the last line of information where we are using AIS and other things from the government side to compile data and all the things. So it's actually a kind of a role reversal which has happened. And that is happening because there is a lot of change which is happening around us in terms of dealing with that. So these things are something which we need to look into, understand. And guys, I'll again tell you, this skills is something, it's not like we have to blow away with our existing thing. We are all chartered accountant. We should know about taxation, we should know about that. But this is also one area where we should be focusing on. And that's the reason this chapter is there for you to be able to appreciate it better in terms of how we can actually deal with that. And all these things are something which we need to understand. Okay, so we have few examples also from a perspective of accounting standards and all thing and how it is being done. Let's try to take few of them and then we will keep it question answers there. Okay, so let me share it you. This one of the thing is that use of artificial intelligence in financial reporting. So there is a organization which is basically trying to make sure that they prepare the financial statement according to India's. Now, there are huge amount of data which is there, spreadsheet, PDF, scan data. Getting this data out from all these sites can be very tough. So can we have it some way where we can get this data extracted from different sources using OCR? It's basically nothing but what you see in Google Lens, explore that data, put it up in the formats which we require it up. I don't know if you have used it in Excel, it is already there. If you have a table which is printed, you can take it in Excel, it will directly put it up in Excel. So that is exactly the OCR technology we are talking about out here. Second, from a perspective of India's requirement where, auditors who has to apply or monitor, mitigate fraud risk, there are a lot of algorithms to find out frauds. Now you may say, how is that possible? I'll give you an example here. If you've seen this concept called Amazon, when you buy something, it says people who bought this also bought this. This is a machine learning model based on a priori. It's actually an algorithm which is there. Now, a priori is the same thing which is used by a lot of companies right now in their organization to find out frauds in travel and entertainment expenditure by making an association rule mining and all things. So these are very interesting areas to explore and take that forward. Then forecasting of financial performance, because that is as per India's 105, we have required for accounting standard guidelines. We can actually have financial forecasts which can be see the past data and market trends and try to tell you how it has to be looked into. If you know, a lot of machine learning is used in stock market trading based on the predictive capabilities which are present out there. If you have issues with, understanding this one, I will just try to show you one example of this one. Let me just, I hope you guys have explored CA GPT. If you have not, you will actually be there because I will trying to, maybe this will be the last thing before we, because the rest of the thing is something which is just verbose, which you can actually go through it. This is our, you have a student login also, but I'll try to do the membership login. Oh, Ginny, you should try it. You guys have better things out there in terms of it will help you in your examination preparation and other areas also. And see, we don't say that it is replacing what we do, but you can see there are GPTs which has been made by our institute with institute data, but I'll not go into that. I'm just going to the industry forum because this is very interesting. So we have that different industries like aerospace, agro, bank industry. Let's say I want to do an analyst of banking. I will just say, list out the important ratios of all public sector bank in a tabular format for me to compare. I'm just giving a simple example. Now, this information I could have generated also, but it is just giving me key financial ratio across all the public sector bank, starting from, net interest margin, return on assets. I can actually just try to see a comparative chart, which just give me, oh, this is how it is happening. So Canara Bank is doing it up. Now, see, the strategic part is still, I have to do it. I have to, as an analyst, I have to understand what I'm going to do, how I'm going to use this information. But don't you think it makes my life easier that all this thing can be compiled with me for very easily? This can be only done in our institute GPT. It cannot be done in external because institute has trained some models and all thing, and that's what you are seeing it up. Now, that's something is the most powerful thing which you can actually have it out here. And guys, the thing which is there is this part is something which we need to understand. Yeah, it's very much nice, Jenny. It's something which gives you a kind of complete picture. So as I told you, you have any kind of, we have also said, I'll just show you another interesting thing. Let's say, I'll just say, how many of the banks are not complying fully with Ind AS and what the different observations. I'm just giving a rough example. Let's see if it can bring out something. Okay, Reserve Bank of has deferred the implementation of Ind AS. Okay, so there's something for public sector bank multiple time as of the existing Indian gap, they're not doing the prudential norms are something which you use. So I think it's a wrong area. I can actually change it to some other things. Let's say I'll just give you instead of bank, let's try to take. I am very interested in air transport services. I think this will be interesting. Let's try to say how many of the organizations have not aligned fully to Ind AS financial give it up something. So they say based on the public data Interglobe, okay, they have a reporting financial as per that. Okay, they're aligned. SpiceJet has an issue with India's compliances. Tall Enterprise is aligned. Global Vectra, FCOM Holdings has some issue. So what I'm trying to bring out here is I can basically get a lot of information and try to take care of that. Now, exactly the same point which we are discussing, friends, out here. We are talking about this from a perspective of that a listed or entity can actually analyze their financial statement and take that and work it up in a different manner. So now why it becomes very important is here. We all know Ind AS is a principle-based framework, right? So Ind AS consists of a lot of principles which are there. It can be on RevRec, revenue recognition, leasing. That's the area which I was looking forward in air industries, which were there, because they will be doing a lot of leasing and all things. So I can actually ask very pointed question, have a kind of things and how we can actually deal with that. Now with implementing of Ind AS, the technology will play a key role. If you're not using all of that things, it is highly impossible that we can actually even deal with that. And that is the reason they have multiple things which need to be looked into. In the illustration which has been given out here in your material, it is more about that if you're carried out in thing, ERP, you would have all the user profiles, you have to take care of this, you have to have procedure for posting, relevant, sufficient, all of the things has to be come into picture. And that is exactly the point which we need to all understand, that when we are trying to implement, let's say, for example, if you're trying to implement Ind AS 2, we need to understand as, future accountant, the company will be coming to you and say that, which ERP system we should put it up for inventory, what are the controls we should put into that, how we should be basically dealing with that. Guys, you need to understand the days of vouching are over now. We used to do that. I also used to do that. But now the expectations have been changing. It is not just, okay, as per Ind AS, it is, cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. That is not going to work. How are you going to do that? The organization will be asking you advice and taking it forward. So we need to have all this understanding, which is clear that I would like to have the bill of material to be done. I would like to have all my raw material properly defined. SKUs has to be taken care of. All the costing method has to be properly done. And how I'm going to track the labor cost. What are the overheads observation is there? How do I integrate it with the general ledger so that all the information comes? What are the controls I would require to have it up? All of these things has to be looked into and appreciated to be able to take it. So friends, in short, what I would like to say is, if you try to see the past, present, and future of accounting, it is in the past, it was amazing because how we have come across all of the things. In the present, we are using all of the things, but the future is more exciting with all this technology like blockchain, AI, and all this consulting requirement which has come. We would be actually be able to add a lot of value in terms of dealing with that. So, friends, just to summarize what we were actually discussing out here, we started with understanding the evolution of accounting. We understood why there is importance of technology in India. We also understood what was the past. In the past, we talked about three things: automation, RPA, and we also talked about ERP. We also talked about the cybersecurity part, that how it is so important, because if you're not using cybersecurity, you're giving a wrong reporting altogether. If someone can come and change your financials, don't you think it's something which is a point of concern? And on top of that, friends, we also talk about how the future of blockchain, AI, and other things are going to change it up. And then finally, we talk about India's and IT, how the impact is there, and what are the new avenues, areas, and all the things we have to look at. So that's from my side. We'll open up for questions, any query, any doubts. Feel free to let me know. I'm here to help you with that. Okay. Any questions? I think I can allow to unmute yourself. Ginny, you have a question? You can unmute yourself. No, I cannot. Okay. I can. Okay. Please go ahead. You have a question?
Sir, actually not any query, sir.
Mhm.
But today's lecture was somewhat different in FR that we have
I can.
studying since the start. Uh, but we enjoy very much. Something new things also we come to know about that.
So, Ginny, that's a great thing. It's changing. So I'll mute you. So what is happening, Ginny? The point is right. FR, it was a subject for us also. The point which is there is changing. Today we are discussing, I'm also a chartered accountant, you are also future chartered accountant. We are discussing this because the world around us is changing. 20 years back, that was something which is, and institute understand that. That's the reason we have this as a chapter, that yes, all the fundamentals we should know. That is no shortcut to that, Ginny. But having said that, this would add value if you know that up. And that's how we want you to make you guys more of a purple people. Okay. Thank you, Ginny. Okay. Great. Great. Let me just check once again. Any questions on the board? Just a moment, guys. Okay. Yeah, there's one question that, okay, good question. Why blockchain is, so complex? It's not complex. Okay, I'll tell you. The challenge is, it's not complex. I would say you should keep in mind only two things, guys. First, it is a ledger. If you keep your focus on that, it's a ledger. Forget it's on IT or not. It's a concept. It's like database. It's a concept. Second is a tamper-proof and distributed ledger. If you remember this much, that should be good, because tamper-proof means it is a single source of truth. Distributed means everyone has a single point of view. No one can tamper with that thing once it is being put out there. So it's an append-only ledger. Append-only means you can just add things out there and take that forward. Okay. Great. So thank you, guys. Thank you very much for a very patient hearing, and really appreciate all your questions, all your feedback, and wish you all the best with your studies. And I would request you to also explore the student GPT, which is there, which our institute has made it for you guys only. And we would like you to ensure that you use it in your examination preparation. That would be very helpful, and that would be the thing. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Oh, not evening, day. Have a great day, guys. Okay. Thank you. Done. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.